Sometimes when Black Americans talk to me, they sound like how white people talk to other white people when they aren't the right type of white, you know? Like, they can recognize when someone is like Polish or something, they're not from Western Europe. That kind of differentiation. I was interviewing a participant, and he was like a elderly Black American man, and he looked at me and was like, "What are you? You don't look like a typical Black. Are you Nigerian?" And I was like, yes, I am Nigerian. And then he replies, yeah, I could tell there was something different about you, you know? So I'm very good at recognizing that. I just had to laugh, because what do I say to that? It's not like I have an accent or nothing. I did tell him my name was Benedicta, but that is such an ambiguous name, because sometimes the Latinos claim me. They think I'm one of them. So I really don't know what about me says Nigerian.
Y'all, I am so aggravated by this Jonathan Majors press tour. And I'm not even aggravated by him being on a press tour because he's got a movie coming out, Magazine Dreams, or whatever. It's not him doing that. It's the Black media pundits that are trying to make it seem like the audience is at fault for identifying him as an abuser. We have rightly identified him as such because, one, he was convicted of assault. Two, he's on tape saying he assaulted somebody. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? We are not wrong for seeing him that way. And it's so disingenuous because you have Charlamagne on the Breakfast Club talking about, oh, we're not giving him the same grace as Robert Downey Jr. First of all, let's not revise history. Robert Downey Jr. was down and out for 7 years. From 1996 to 2001, he was going through his drug and rehabilitation scams. In 2001, he was considered uninsurable. He couldn't get on set because he was considered a liability. He made his comeback in 2008 in the MCU as Iron Man. That was 7 years. So if you're talking about bar for bar Jonathan Majors, you still got 5 years to sit down if you're trying to compare yourself to him. Don't do that. And second of all, I would have respected Jonathan Majors more if he just owned his shit. If he just said it outright, I have a big temper. It has its roots in my childhood or whatever. And I'm in therapy to get it under control. I'm in anger management and I'm never going to touch nobody again. I ain't going to put my hands on nobody else. If you want redemption, start with atonement. You don't just get redemption because you're a Black king and you got your Coretta. That's not how that works. Atone for your okay? Prove to people you're not that person no more. That's how it works for everybody. Stop blaming us for seeing you the way you are. Okay? It's so aggravating. Like, ugh. And then you have Megan Good wasting her social capital on this, losing endorsements over this. Anyway, I guess love wins or whatever they like to say.
The reason white people get so upset when Black people are celebrated is because they believe we only exist to serve them or entertain them. If we do something within our own community for us that doesn't replicate some form of servitude or involve them at all, they feel left out. In their minds, our only purpose is to exist to serve them in some way. They believe that we should inherently sacrifice our bodies for them and do not see us as human with our own autonomy, our own ideologies, interests, capabilities. This is why Trump brought up the fact that immigrants were taking Black jobs. He and a lot of other white people believe that Black people only exist in America to serve. He doesn't believe that we should be in any leadership positions or any job that serves our own interests or community. The only reason so many people were upset about the halftime show is because it had a much deeper meaning, and that meaning they could not understand. They realized that the entertainment that they think belongs to them was not for them. They think that all entertainment should be accessible to them and about them. They can't fathom how we can do anything other than be a Black body for their enjoyment. This is why they always tell athletes who use their platforms to speak about injustice that they need to just stick to football. We don't want to hear your opinion because they don't value us. They don't see us as human. That is their way of attempting to put us in our place. Do what we want you to do. Entertain us. Use your body to play the sport that you're good at and win me some damn money. Don't even get me started on the way the NFL draft mimics the slave trade. White people know how talented and capable we are. They know how close-knit of a community we have. They know that we don't need them to thrive, but they need us to thrive. If we didn't exist, they wouldn't have anywhere to steal their ideas from. And they wouldn't be able to keep up with the constant demands of life. They expect everyone else to do it for them. A lot of white people only want us if they can profit off of us in some way. Anything that the Black community initiates for ourselves offends them because this idea of white ownership is not at the core of what we do. They hate that even though we have to work 10 times as hard as them to get in some of the same positions of power and influence, we always do the job better than them every single time.
You pick up on, like, for instance, when you're totally dependent on whites for their services. For instance, there was always what we call the policy man, the insurance agent who would come to door to door during those days to collect the money for the policies. They would simply come up to your house and not even knock and just simply walk into your house.
These are white agents.
These are white agents. That's how much they took liberty, and that's how much they were in control. And so of your everyday existence, you saw these things, and so.
That Congress is created and in violation of the Constitution. My question to you is, why do you believe that President Trump is above the law? And I'll just reinforce what other people have been saying here. Why have you not spoken out for it? Yeah. And we have trusted you with our votes. We have sent you to Congress for decades. We expect you to follow through for what we Iowans really want our government to do, and not to have a federal government that is being dismantled by this President Trump and Elon Musk. Yeah, please stand up for what's right and do your jobs.
Your statement gives me a wonderful opportunity to explain to you that constantly, every time I go from my office to the Senate floor, there's journalists not by the dozens, but by a couple dozen, that are there to ask me questions all the time. And I take time to answer their questions. And I never see anything in print that I ever say to them. So I have to assume that you don't get a chance, unless you do a vast amount of reading, that you'd ever see anything that I say to the journalists in Washington, D.C. So this is why on a weekend I put out something on my website called The Scoop that carries all the things that I have said or speeches I give on the floor of the United States Senate or press releases, because I can't count on the...
An OnlyFans model is facing murder charges after a client passed away during a fetish session. In April of 2023, police responded to a call that found Michelle performing CPR on an unresponsive male, later identified as Michael Dale. Dale, age 56, was taken to a local hospital where he was declared brain dead, and a few days later he was taken off of life support. 2 years after his deceasement, police have arrested Michelle and charged her with murder. On the night of Dale's deceasement, he reportedly paid Michelle $11,000 to engage in fetish play and asked her, then at the time 29-year-old, to wrap him up in saran wrap like a mummy, glue a pair of women's shoes onto his feet, and add adhesive to his eyes to seal them shut. It was later alleged that it went a little bit further than it was supposed to. The medical examiner ultimately determined that the bag had been wrapped around Dale's head for at least 8 minutes and ruled his cause of death as asphyxiation. Michelle provided police with her phone when they arrived at the scene, and then it was also stated that there was no evidence that Dale ever requested that Michelle to place a bag over his head and secure it, which eventually led to the cause of him suffocating. A video on the phone was allegedly showing Michelle using items for content for her OF page as Dale lied in the plastic bag wrapped in saran and duct tape sealed around his head. Police arrested her in February and she is being held without bail at a detention facility in San Diego. Her court date will be in April. Elon Musk, the father of Elon, believes that his son cannot be racist due to his past relationship with a black servant who worked for the family in apartheid South Africa. In an email regarding inquiries about his son's animosity towards diversity, equity, and inclusion, aka DEI initiatives, Elon Musk stated that his two sons were never interested in political matters while growing up. Quote, "They were not into political nonsense, and we lived in a very well-run, law-abiding country with virtually no crime at all. Actually, no crime. We had several black servants who were their friends. Of course, the well-run, law-abiding country at the time was run by a racial segregationist regime that kept its black majority population in a state of perpetual poverty and servitude until the system was finally dismantled in 1994. Rudolph Pioneer, a biomedical scientist who graduated with Musk at Pretoria Boys High School in 1988, states that Musk's privileged upbringing has made it impossible for him to grasp concepts such as systematic racial oppression. Quote, "We grew up in a bubble of entitlement. I am not sure if Elon can conceive of systematic discrimination and struggle because that's not his experience. His life now in some ways is how it was under the apartheid. Rich and entitled with an entire society built to sustain him and his ilk."
You don't know what it's like being outnumbered by what? Black people? Kafirs? Do you have any black friends at home, Mari? Yes, as a matter of fact I do. I have Flora. Flora is my friend, my best friend. Flora is your maid. If you stop paying her, do you think she'd stick around? Or maybe don't even pay her. Maybe she's your slave. You've got it all wrong, and don't say that about Flora. Who has it all wrong? Me and the rest of the world, Mari? Or you and your racist South African people? Whether you want to admit it or not, you know I'm right. Why else do you think your own government would hide books and movies and stupid TV shows from its own people? What are they so afraid of? And why are they so afraid of you staying here? If you didn't want me here, all you had to do was say so.